Word on the street. FisMaz show. What's the word on the street? Like who got the beats that be killing the game? Who's up on the screen? Who playing who? What's the score on the sheet? Fiso the Prince got him taking the seat. Got the legends giving us the 411. FisMaz from the 031. No hating sports and entertainment when we got it all and we're the only ones. And after all that action, love how we dripping high fashion. Drippy on some rich amnestic, baby stylists and soak up with passion. If it's giving us less, then we never settle. Make sure you pull up and bring all your medals. Sit back and relax, let's go. It's FisMaz bringing you the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show.
Hi, this is Sibonelo Makanya from the Multiply Titans, and you are locked into the only show that matters, the FisMaz show.
94 league wins for Wilder at Sheffield United. Only Pep and Jurgen have had more in England since he was appointed in 2016. Let's be frank, it's the end for him now at Sheffield United, but he leaves as their greatest ever manager, would you say? It feels like it. Definitely, and he leaves with his head completely held high. Listen, he won the Manager of the Year award, LMA award, runner-up as well in the last 2 years. It speaks volumes of what he's done. Joined the club in League One, and then got him to the Premier League. Almost got him to the Europe. Yeah. This guy, he won't be scratching around to get a club. I think there'll be loads of suitors trying to get him to be a manager at their club. Wholehearted Sheffield United fan. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a statue outside that stadium one day, because of what he done there. He lifted the spirits of not only the club but the city, a local guy, and a salt of the earth type of guy. But I think he was disappointed in terms of maybe the lack of investment of the whole club, the infrastructure of creating something that's sustainable to where it got him.
Hey everyone, all that hot stuff in the bag. There's plenty happening. We heard some nice comments there with regards to Chris Wilder leaving Sheffield United. Unfortunate, he had done so well at Bramall Lane. Probably a victim of his own success when you really look at it, because he took them from League One all the way up to the Premier League. Had a fantastic start in terms of obviously the Premier League life, and then this season, that's what the Premier League does. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's tough there. It's tough. But unfortunate. Such a great character is Chris Wilder. And of course, the other big one is the India versus England series, the top two teams in T20 cricket. And of course, with the World Cup being held in India, it is a massive one in terms of preparation with regards to that particular series. Before we move on to the topic that we're going to be getting stuck into, and if you haven't seen on social media, it's all about the domestic restructure of South African cricket, and it's going to be fascinating chat. I've got a great cast alongside me. I've got Kanyiso Chuaku, who is the Sport 24 senior sports writer. I'll be chatting to him first because I actually spoke to him a few days ago and recorded it nicely before I did the rest of the show. And then I've also got Proteas all-rounder Vernon Philander. He's going to be chatting to me from obviously a player's point of view with regards to what he thinks with regards to obviously the restructure and how it was back in the day when he would have played, when it was still the provinces. And of course, I've got David Brooke. He's the brand and sponsorship manager of the Western Province Cricket Association and the Cape Cobras. So great cast. But as I said, before we get to that, let's head out to the Road Safety World Series, where legends from across the world are playing against each other. And I've got a good friend of mine who's out there, Thandi Shabalala. He's been doing very well. So I just want to find out from him, how's the experience been as a whole? And not only that, I see he's been ripping it. Fabo? Ripping it. Yeah, good stuff. Let's go hear from him quickly, and then we'll head across to my chat with Kanyiso.
Glorious cover drives, and also some fantastic batting off the back foot. Shabalala into the attack now. 57 wickets in his T20 career, but Kevin Peterson has been in top-notch form. Trying to go for a big one. Wicket first up. The South African legends wanted Kevin Peterson to be back in the dugout. Shabalala, man with the golden arm at this moment of time. And that's a big wicket. That is a big wicket.
FisMaz, how are you, my brother? Firstly, I just want to congratulate you on the fantastic journey that you've had so far as a broadcaster. Continue to inspire millions of South Africans out there. India has been fantastic. The people here are obviously very amazing. The nature and the standard of cricket that's been played out here has been truly fantastic. I think initially when we first came here, we thought it was just going to be a fun trip and we're just going to have 1 or 2 drinks with the guys. But I think instinctively, because the guys want to win and the guys want to compete on a world stage, that certainly raised the standard of the cricket that's been played out here. I think personally, obviously, it's been an incredible experience to be part of the South African Legends team led by John T. Rhodes and to compete out here with some of the best past players like Lara, Tendulkar, Sehwag, Dilshan, Herath has truly been fantastic, and to be able to really put your hand up and compete against these guys has been a memorable experience. I think obviously the experiences off the field in the change rooms has been magnificent, just to be able to engage with the guys regarding family life, regarding what life has been after cricket, and obviously life from a business point of view.
Kanyiso, I believe you're out at Supersport Park. How did the game go?
Well, I think the game's been called a draw. The Titans are 386 for 3 after 115 overs. Aiden Markram finally made his maiden first-class double 100, made 204, with the double 100 coming with 337 balls, 24s in 1-6.
Obviously today, I just want to touch on domestic cricket as a whole, the restructure. That's basically what I want to get to. And for those of you who are wondering why Kanyus is wearing a mask, I'm not wearing a mask, well, he's observing protocol. He's at the stadium. I'm not. I'm at home, so I can be free. But yeah, nonetheless, Kanyus, so let's get cracking, because domestic restructure, for those who don't know, what has gone on?
Well, the long and the short of it is that the franchise system that has been in place since 2004 will come to an end at the end of the season. It will be replaced by a 15-team provincial system with two divisions. The first division will consist of the 6 big sides, that is Western Province, Free State, Eastern Province, Lions, Titans, Dolphins. And then they'll be joined by Northwestern Boland. And then the majority of the teams that played in the semi-pro, that would be Southwestern Districts, Border, Easterns, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, KZN, Inland, they'll all be playing in the second division. That is at Division 2. So that's where the lay of the land is at the moment. Remember that they'll play in separate tournaments. For the MSL will consist of the teams that play in the top division, and then they'll play in the T20 Knockout Cup that will encompass all 15 teams, and then they'll also play in a one-day tournament that will be split amongst the 2 divisions.
Yes, pretty fascinating. I mean, it goes back to an old system that we knew in South Africa, but the only difference has got that county cricket feel to it. I mean, is it something that should excite people? Is it something that we should be concerned about? What's your take?
No, I mean, look, as Dave Richardson had said on Monday, that this has been something that has been in the works since 2016. Remember, it was fraught with some controversy when Saka took CSA to court, claiming that they weren't properly informed with regards to how this domestic restructure will take place. So with that said, they finally pushed through this domestic restructure. They did actually push through on the 1st of January. So look, if we can only see how it will pan out. The reason why they tried to move to this particular franchise system was to strengthen South African cricket at the time, along the lines of Australia's 6-team Sheffield Shield, which has been in place since the late 1800s. So look, they did what they needed to do. It worked clearly. Now it had its shortcomings, and the shortcomings were enough to actually make sure that franchise cricket would come to an end.
Yeah, fascinating. One of the key aspects I think that a lot of people have mentioned is it opens the field to other players that perhaps have been operating in the lower tiers. But there will also be some teams that will feel hard done by. You look at Easterns and the success they've had. You look at the Border region that is so rich in terms of cricket history. So for you, are you giving it a tick in terms of it being a good thing going forward?
It is. I mean, look. If you look at how England got stronger as a national team post 2000, when they actually split their county cricket from a block of 18 teams into 2 divisions of 9 teams, it's become very, very good for them. So it's a very we can only see how it will work out. Because I mean, we also need to look at how players will be contracted, who will go where. So look, at the moment in time, people say, but can we afford a large number of teams? That's the first question that will be asked. So I think the best part of that is that we need to see who's going to go, because if you look at teams like the Titans and the Lions, they've got a large number of Proteas and contracted players and Protea contracted players. So those players will need to find a home elsewhere. Where they'll go now will be very interesting, because some of them will want to stay up in the top division. I mean, if you look at a team like Eastern, which is shared with the Titans, I don't think that a number of those players would like to play for Easterns in the second division. They'd like to stay in the first division with the likes in the first division with the team like the Northerns or this thing, or Northwest, or also in the top division. So where the players will go when that contracting comes through will be very critical in terms of where those players will stay.
Yeah, fascinating, Kanyi. So I know you've got a lot that's happening at the moment. Thank you very much for just touching on the subject very quickly. I'm going to let you go now.
Yes.
And again, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
No, thank you very much, man. It's my pleasure to be here.
Cool. Cheers, brother. Nice to hear from Kanyi. So with regards to obviously how things will play out, and I've got two guests now who will join me on the show, and that is David Brook. He is, of course, the brand and sponsorship manager of Western Province Cricket Association and the Cape Cobras. And of course, we've got a Proteas legend, Vernon Philander, who will also touch just on, from a player's perspective, how things will pan out, how he thinks it will work. So let me just allow David in, and we can really get cracking, because I'm really interested to find out from an administrative point of view how things will work. So yeah, Brookie is joining me now, and I'll just give him a few seconds to get connected. Brookie, can you hear me yet?
Hey, Fizz.
Are you good to go, brother?
I'm good to go, mate.
Yeah, mate. No, man, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Obviously, there's plenty happening with regards to the restructure around South African cricket, how that's going to work. And probably one of the most interesting points for me is from an administrative point of view. Everyone thinks about players, and obviously Vern will come in and he'll touch from a player's perspective. But from an administrative side, from a sponsorship side, from all of those kind of things, I mean, I'm sure it's been a hell of a busy right now.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy time, but to be honest, we've been preparing for this for a while now. So even in our discussions that we had with potential sponsors, the likes of Six Gun Grill, over the last 6 months, we anticipated this change already. So contracts, all of those kind of things have already been adjusted accordingly in anticipation. I think communication was a key part of these negotiations. Obviously, in the last year, it's been one of the toughest years from a negotiation point of view, from a sponsorship point of view, because you couldn't guarantee a sponsor coverage, you couldn't guarantee them live matches. A lot of the sponsorships are based around activations as well, so you couldn't guarantee that they could actually get their product into people's hands. So it came down to communication, trust, and understanding that we're in this together, and the way that the partners that we have on board are not necessarily partners that want to kind of come on board for 1 year, to see what the scene is like. They are long-term partners. They see the vision of what we're trying to achieve at Western Province Cricket, and they're in it for the long run, which is fantastic. They understand the challenges that we as an organization face. Normally you can sit at the start of the season and plan your activations. You can give exact dates, and those plans got just thrown out the window this year. So it's been a very difficult season, but it didn't come as a surprise when it did get announced. We, as an organization, we had been planning accordingly. So it's a matter of just changing a couple of contracts because the contract's done in a certain company. If the franchise, like in our system, the franchise is run in a separate company, it would be transferring those sponsorships that were in that company into the Western Province company. So a couple of contractual things, which the general person doesn't see. But yeah, we anticipated it, and it's also sponsors. The best time to get involved from a partnership point of view is at the start of something special. And if you can explain to partners your vision for the organization, the players, the team, give them the landscape of what cricket in South Africa is going to look like, then it's an exciting journey to be part of. And it's an opportunity for them to be involved at a time where you can get a really good, for lack of a better word, a very good deal from a sponsor point of view. There's a lot of opportunities out there and it allows around the country all the affiliates, the unions, to now deal with companies that want to be part of something special from the start.
I mean, first and foremost, I need to give a big shout out to you guys at the Cobras, because you guys introduced me to Six Gun Grill, the spice. Man, I used it on my bride the other day. I tell you what, Brookie, I was the talk of the town. My meat was nice.
That's fantastic. That's what we love to see, you know. The ironic thing is that people have been using Six Gun for a number of years. But the minute it becomes involved with the sport that they love as well, it's a perfect match. They've been involved with rugby with Western Province Rugby for a couple of seasons now, and now that they're involved, and especially on the Cobra side and on the Six Gun Grill Newland side of things, that's taken their brand to a whole new level, and they really are a fantastic brand to deal with. They match perfectly with what we're trying to do from a sporting point of view. So it is, you know, people now, when they're braaiing and they're using their Six Gun Grill, or they're at a braai, or they're at their local butcher, you know, they notice it more now. You know, a similar case was when I remember sitting with Cricket South Africa in one of their report back meetings, and they were going over one of their sponsors, Sunfoil, who's also a part of Western Province Cricket. He's been a great part of our development cricket for a few years now. They, you know, it was all about the fact that Sunfoil had been around for years. But when they got involved with South African cricket as a whole, and the test cricket and the development side of cricket, then all of a sudden people realized, wow, I've been using Sunfoil for a number of years already. I just didn't know the name of the brand necessarily. You know, it was the first cooking oil that they picked up at their local store in their weekly shop. So, you know, and their Sunfoil sales rocketed up in the first year of the sponsorship. I think it was about 80%, which is a huge number. If you're looking at it from a business case and a return on investment point of view, for a sponsor, that's absolute gold from a sponsorship point of view, to be able to see that kind of return on investment in the first year. And it's obviously gone from strength to strength since then. And at the time, it was a time where the Proteas kind of needed a sponsor at the time, and the Sunfoil saw the opportunity. They got in at a very low cost to entry, and they've been a fantastic partner of Cricket South Africa and a number of the unions over the last few years. So it's been, from that point of view, it's been brilliant. If you can show the sponsor a return on investment, it's not just about plucking a logo on a shirt anymore. You know, sponsors are really, you need to show the return on investment, and that is the key.
Yeah, it's truly fascinating subject. I mean, because obviously a lot of people worry about what happens in the park, but there's so much that is attached to professional sport. I see Vernon has arrived, so I want to let him in now, and we can obviously bring him into our discussion a little bit more, because for me, it's a fascinating subject with regards to how things have gone, how things are going to change. And I'm happy that you've brought up sponsorship, because that plays such a massive role. And another topic that's really interests me is, of course, the bidding process. There he is, the big Vern. Vern, how are you, brother?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. All good? Your end?
No complaints. Were you playing too much golf again?
No. But I actually am at Paulville at the moment, just having a bit of downtime with the family. But I'll limit the golfing this time around.
No, good stuff. Good to see you, brother. I haven't seen you since Derbs. Obviously, Brookie's joining us for the chat. You know, maybe just bring you in quickly with regards to obviously what we're discussing today. It's about the domestic restructure. First and foremost, is it something that excites you?
Yeah, I kind of like the 8-team format, especially at the top structure, obviously, and then you've got 7 at the bottom, if I'm right. But I think what it does do, it allows for each province to now start, you know, working on their own pipeline, on their own structures, and their own feeding systems, which I think in the past was a bit difficult. You know, when you're joining and merging two provinces together, it's really difficult, especially when it comes to talent identification, and especially, like I've alluded to, you know, building your own structures within your own setup. So I think it's a good move, and the fact that you're going to have promotion, relegation, being a part of it, will almost incentivize those smaller teams to keep pushing for for higher spots and making sure that they themselves are also a big contender in terms of challenging for the top 8 spots. So all in all, I'm all for it. And like I said, we've got 2 more provinces, which ultimately enables 2 more squads to it. So I mean, the pool of professional cricketers, just gets bigger. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Vern's touched on a very interesting point with regards to obviously, the promotion relegation, the 8 teams essentially in the top division. The one thing that I was quite interested about, Brookie, was the bid process. I don't know if you had a good intel, if you have any good intel with regards to how that worked. Will teams like Easterns, for example, who have been successful, feel a little bit hard done by? Was merit over the past few seasons taken into account, or was it purely based from a commercial point of view? How did it work?
Yeah, so basically, we got each affiliate got invited to submit the bid, and the general public don't actually know how much time and effort and the intricacies of the detail of that bidding process. That bid document in our case, and I'm sure in most other cases, was about 135 pages. It was made up of things like governance, sustainability, transformation, performance, history a bit. What have we produced over the years in terms of pipeline to the Proteas. Transformation was a big part of it. Commercial was part of that as well. Guaranteed commercial deals in place was a decent part of that as well. And also, but strategy going forward, and also the links to your kind of local municipalities, your city of Cape Town, etc. So all these things were bandied together. Your human resources side of things as well was played a massive role in it. But yeah, all of it was banded together. And just because you were one of the 6 franchises, the so-called 6 big franchises that were in place, there was no guarantees that you were going to be in that top 8. Even when they were announcing it, and they did it in no particular order, and Western Province were named as the 8th team, I was sweating a little bit, but thankfully we got given we got awarded a team in the top 8, and it made the process all worthwhile, because it was a long and arduous process. Our exco sat together on a number of occasions, and we put together a bid document similar to how we had to do it when it was the original Mzansi Super League and Global League, where we had to submit a bid on behalf of Western Province to be able to host a team at Newlands. It was a long process, but it's a good process to go through, because it makes sure that as an organization that we've got our ducks in a row, that we've got all our necessary paperwork in place, that our finances are in order, that our contracts are in order. So it is kind of a nice exercise to do. But the timing was tough, because we're still in the middle of we kind of at the back end of our season, but that just is the nature of the game. We're just glad to be awarded a team, and now we move forward as Western Province. And I think there's a lot of people, especially, I had a bit of chatter on Twitter yesterday. A lot of people love the Western Province brand and want us to go back to Western Province. And I think that's going to be the big debate over the next few months, is that what do we do? Are we Western Province? Are we Cape Cobras? Are we Cape Town Blitz? So this is something that's going to be, it's not going to be an emotional decision that's going to be made. It's going to be driven by, what the fans want, what do commercial partners want in place, because, I mean, Ver can attest, there's people that love the Western Province brand. There's people that were against the franchise system, that when the Cape Cobras brand was initiated, they didn't support it anymore. We kind of lost a generation of fans that didn't support the Cape Cobras brand, and all the franchises brand, that we lost them to South African cricket. So how do we get those guys back? So I think that's going to be an interesting debate over the next few months. I see the likes of the Titans have already said that they're going to be playing as the Titans still, and not as Northerns, although the pool of players will come from the Northerns players, but they'll still be keeping the Titans brand. So it's going to be interesting to see what the general public in Cape Town, because when you ask the Cape Town fans what they want, they're going to tell you what they want. They're not shy to tell you.
No, fair enough. I mean, Vern, you cast your mind back to the early 2000s when you made your debut. You would have played in a Western Province team with the likes of Charles Willoughby and a lot of other big names that have played during that time, Alan Dawson, to name a few. I mean, you cast your mind back. How special was it to not only represent Western Province, but represent specifically that part of the world? I'm not saying that Boland is not part of the Western Cape, but there was always this sense of pride of donning a Western Province jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me specifically, I mean, you're walking to a team with the names you've just mentioned, it was such a privilege, I mean, because most of those players were Cape Town-based players. And, like you said, I mean, there was a great rivalry between Boland and Western Cape cricket, or Western Province cricket back then. And I think, obviously, when the merging came, it gave a lot more people, obviously, a lot less opportunity. And then also, the biggest thing that it actually done was it actually filtered down into your feeder systems. And, people start losing hope because there's only limited spots available. But I think, when and if we do go back to the province system, it allows for more opportunity, number one. It also allows for you to get your structures in place, like I've said a bit earlier. And I think that's something that, that's really been almost done away with, because when we went to the franchise system, it almost became like a Premier League, where you could literally go across border and sign players in. But coming back to your point, I mean, it was just phenomenal to play, in the Blues. And I mean, for me, up to today, I still see it as the Blues. And, you've got such a pride, representing your province. And I think it's something great, to go back to that system, because you feel a part of Western Province. I mean, I always feel a part of Western Province. So for me to have, to be able to leave Western Province now, you're going to go play at the Titans, for example, you just don't have that same sort of energy. I mean, when you get up, how hard you have to work to get into that position. And for me, the modern day game has approached probably the Premier League, where you can, buy players from other provinces. In some cases, it's good, because I do feel, some players do feel, I'm at home, I can be relaxed, there's no sort of pressure on me. So, in that sense, we have seen a couple of players leave the Cape and have become, household names in other provinces, which is good to see. But I think, for me, representing your province ultimately, leaves such a good taste, not just in your mouth, but also for those who have grown up around you. I've just listened to Brookie, mentioning it. We've got a proud culture down in the Western Cape, and that's purely because you've got most of the team over the years has been from Cape Town, and what you will find is that those smaller communities that a guy like for myself is from Ravensmead, you'll find them coming down to Newlands in support, Western Province back in the day, and we've seen it over the years. The merging of the two provinces, you've seen almost the drifting away of fans. But I mean, I have to say, Cape Town in all has been a very proud cricketing franchise and well-supported franchise. But I think for your smaller cities, you have seen, how the community started to break away because of this amalgamation. So I think for me, it's a very good move that we go back to provinces. And, like I said, I'll just like to see it again, where your smaller communities produce a Themba Bavuma, and you have half of Langa down at Newlands supporting the Western Province. I mean, in his case, the Lions. But, those sort of things, always sits well with me, when these smaller communities breed and presents a player of world stature, and, he eventually makes it into the top setup.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, because you almost feel like with going back to provinces, there's a traditional kind of feel to it. It's like, I'm from, Cape Town, Western Province is my team. It can get lost somewhere when someone says Cape Cobras, like, what's that? As much as we've gotten used to it and it's become such a key part of our cricket, the traditionalness of KwaZulu-Natal, border, Northwest, it's very, very direct, straightforward. You know exactly what you're dealing with. Who's playing today? Western Province is playing. Someone's like, okay, I'm from there. I support them. You know what I mean? Brookie, what's your thoughts?
Yeah,
When you can
I
just come in
think
straight after Brookie touches on the point, you'll just jump in as well. Okay.
Yeah, no,
y-
no stress.
yeah, I think the one problem, I don't want to say it's a problem, but the one conundrum we had at Cape Cobras was we had three unions as part of one. So, for example, the players would have to travel 5 hours for a home match in Oudtshoorn when we played in SWD. And even though when we were playing in Oudtshoorn, it was a wonderful supported game. There was massive support for the Cape Cobras. It was like, you couldn't gain momentum because you would maybe have two games at Six Gun Grill Newlands, and you would win both of those games, and you would kind of like feel the momentum of the home games. Then you would have another home game, but you would have to go to Oudtshoorn for a home game. So the ironic thing was a lot of the times if we played the Warriors in Oudtshoorn, it was shorter for the Warriors to get there than it would be for us as the home team. So I think that's the problem with kind of keeping possibly the name of Cape Cobras moving forward. The fact that Boland will have a team in the top 8 team, and I do think it's time for a kind of a freshness. I do think that, and Vern can give a bit more detail about it. But for example, like in the UK and in Australia, they play their 4-day cricket as their kind of their provincial side, and like for example, the Northampton players, Northamptonshire in the 4-day competition, and then in the white ball cricket they play. The brand is the Steelbacks. They still have Northampton, but the Steelbacks is kind of the brand that they go with. So I personally see a bit of a hybrid system going to be happening at Western Province. We might play and I'm not saying that that's set in stone, but we've got to kind of work on a kind of theory of possibly playing as Western Province in 4-day cricket, and then for the limited overs and especially the Mzansi Super League, you play as the Blitz, for example, where it's a bit of a let's say a sexier brand, if you want to call it that. If you're playing in a league where it's a T20 league, razzmatazz, fireworks, getting international players, it's very difficult to attract a Karen Pollard or whatever it is, playing in Western Province in the Mzansi Super League. I think the Blitz brand works for that kind of competition, but for 4-day cricket, especially, I think it would be great to play as Western Province. And even though the stadiums have been in previous seasons, not obviously in this past season, but in previous seasons, 4-day cricket has been open. We've got an open door policy. There's no charge for games, but over the last 10 years, nobody comes to the 4-day games. Maybe if we play as Western Province again, there will be a bit of a crowd. Vern can attest to the fact that, I mean, he's played in the UK. 4-day cricket is well supported there by the old toppies there. They come there with their scorecard, and it's a cultural thing. They love their 4-day cricket there. It's a brilliant culture there.
Vern, you want to pick up there?
Careful, Brookie. Careful, Brookie. When I started out, we had fans, especially in 4-day games as well.
That's what I'm saying. Over 10 years ago.
I don't want to sound like in my day, type of scenario, but no, just to touch on Brookie's point there, I think, especially when we had home games, it always became such a massive headache because in our case, we had two other provinces which we shared with, was Boland and SWD. So when it comes to home fixtures, you'll always find that those smaller unions, they will want to fight for games to be hosted at their venues as well because they're part of the union. And I think right now, because we going back to provinces, I think, Newlands has got such a massive stature in terms of the stadium, in terms of the venue, in terms of just the whole aura around Newlands, So I think it's good to take cricket back to Newlands, let him host all the 4-day games that are supposed to be playing there. And likewise for Boland, you always felt that there was a bit of fighting in between, Boland, Western Province, because of the amount of games being hosted either at Boland or either at Western Province. So I think with that being said, it's even more reason to go back to the normal provinces.
Yeah,
I think it would be just from a rivalry point of view. I mean, we saw in Mzansi Super League the rivalry that we created from a tournament point of view. I think it added a massive edge to the tournament itself. When Paul Rocks were playing the Cape Town Blitz, it was a massive rivalry, and it has great potential to be a very healthy rivalry going forward. So when Western Province are playing Boland, I think that's going to be a really good thing for the fans to be involved. I think it's fantastic that Boland have got their own team in the top 8. I think it's wonderful. They proved with the Mzansi Super League that we've seen it even when we hosted Cobras games. There was always a great following there. The passion for their cricket in that area was huge. But for them to have their own Boland for alles, is their saying there, so it's like they love their cricket there. And for us to be playing Western Province versus Boland at Six Gun Grill Newlands or at Boland Park, it's going to be great games, and it's good for South African cricket. Some of Vern played with those guys, the likes of Ontes and Stean van Zyl, all came from Boland. So the rivalry is going to be something that's really going to be exciting for us and for South African cricket.
For an interesting point. I mean, you obviously touched on the rivalry. You can also have a scenario where it's almost like the smaller unions want to make sure that they get one over the big brother. So if Northwest plays, the Lions, that creates an interesting little battle between the two of them. And then, of course, obviously the traditional Big Six, the rivalries go back to as they were. And Vernon, that could make for pretty exciting viewing for the fans. And it could be a type of shift that really galvanizes South African cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like Brookie has alluded to, there is great rivalry between Boland and Western Province. I can attest to, from being a player in my playing days, playing at Boland was never easy, especially with their fans. Their fans are passionate, they'll let you have it all day long, especially after 2 o'clock,
I was about to say, are they passionate or they're abusive?
No.
Depends what time of the day it is.
They're passionately abusive. So those guys, but that's all part of the game. That builds character in terms of players. Are you able to handle it? Do you shy away from it? Do you get involved? Do you take part in the in the chat that's been taking place around the boundary ropes, and those sort of things are phenomenal. To be a part of as a player. I'm talking about. Most of the times people just see it from the outside, but that's really what built me as a person as well. You hear someone chirping or throwing a bit of abuse, from the other side, and sometimes you laugh about it, sometimes it goes to your mind and makes you think. And I've always been a big critic of myself, so I kind of know how to handle it, because I wouldn't get involved in like abusing back, per se. So I'd always see the funny side of it, but ultimately you go back and you think to yourself, okay, cool, what, Fiesel might have said something valid from the other side, although he's 20 pints later. But for me, coming back to this system that we're talking about, I think if there's one area that I'm probably a little bit disappointed in, is probably the border team. We know Border's got a rich history in terms of producing players. And ultimately, there's such a big cricket culture happening in Border, that I almost feel that have we missed an opportunity here? That to me is probably the one thing that I feel that we've probably missed. But also in saying that, it does give them a chance to rebuild. It does give them a chance to really compete, when the promotion and relegation do take place, to really make a firm statement of getting back in there. But the 8 provinces as is, I think, just phenomenal teams. Boland coming back into it. The guys have just won the T20 competition last year, so they'll come with a lot of confidence, and I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain that they would have probably signed a couple of the players whom have played in that Mzansi T20 league for them. Northwest, we don't have to say much about, because they produce players every single year, with the university and the structure that's been going on in Potchefstroom. They have got phenomenal infrastructure. And I think that is something that, we all need to look up to and say, cool, moving into the province system, how are we going to have, systems and structures that absolutely, that produce players? I always talk about having a conveyor belt of players coming through the system. And I can see it, our youth has got so much talent, but somehow we keep losing that youth in the system. So the big question is, right now, with the provinces going back, you need to produce your own players. And I think that, for me, really excites me, because I know we've got a lot of talent in Cape Town. I know there's a lot of talent in Boland. I know there's a lot of talent everywhere in the country. But it's really about putting a system and a structure in place that will produce those players. And ultimately, I can almost see and sense that we will touch a World Cup at some stage.
Yeah, you made some really amazing points there, Vernon, with regards to that. And I'm hoping that the conveyor belts do get lit up once again and the players start flying through. Plenty of talent all around the country. Just in closing, Brookie, I just want to find out from a contracting point of view. Um, how will it work with regards to if a player is affiliated with, let's say you contracted to the Cobras, but then you when you play semi-pro, you'd be playing for Boland. How does that work? How will that work? Is it a clean slate? Do all the teams have to then start from scratch essentially? And Vern, I want you to pick up from once Brooke is finished answering and just speak from a player's perspective how that kind of shifting might go. So Brookie, you can start us off, and then Vern, you can just finish off.
Yeah, so I think what the process that's currently being followed is as follows. So I think it's on the 15th, which is Monday, if I'm not mistaken. The national contracts are going to be confirmed, because the national contracts, everything kind of has to filter down after that, because you look at who you want to sign, but if you get some of your players that are in your current squad that you already have, that gets a national contract, it frees up some money in your salary bill. You get a salary cap, and you get a maximum, and you get a rookie, and you go from top and bottom, and basically everything in between is up for negotiation. So if one of your players turn around and get a national contract, that frees up money for the coach to bring in another kind of high profile player. So what happens now, there were each franchise had last season, some I think had about 8, you could have up to 8 players on a 2-year contract. So what happens now is that this week coming now, those 8 players that you had in your national contracts, in your on 2-year contracts, the second year of your contract, you have to stay within the region. So for example, the 8 players in our region have to decide whether they stay at Western Province or at Boland in this case, because they would want to be staying in the first division. So that process now takes place, and then after that, then you fill up the rest of your squad. Obviously, all determined after the national contracts are named. So it's a bit of a bun fight out there. The guys the agents are calling left, right, and center, but this is the time of the year where you can secure guys. We're now able to secure some players on longer term basis, where the majority of times players are on 1-year contracts and 2-year contracts. It's very difficult to build a side around that. For the coach to only have players, the majority of his squad in 1-year contracts, very difficult to build something special. Things don't happen within 6 months. It takes time to build a title winning side, especially the side that we've had over the last few years, where we've tried to build a side from a very young base. The players like Vern, Roars, Pato, those guys have now departed the Cobras, and we've got this new generation of players coming through. So we're going to be able, each of the top 8 teams are going to be able to sign a couple of players on 3-year contracts, and then some of the guys on 2-year contracts, and then a few of the guys on 1-year contracts. So that process will be taking place between now and by the end of April. Each of the 15 franchises will then have their squads confirmed. In the first division, you're going to have 16 contracts. In the second division, you're going to have 11 contracts, and you've got to make sure that you fill up all those spots and with the right personnel in there as well.
Yeah, fascinating. But just in closing, from your side, with regards to from a player's perspective, I hear 3-year contracts. I think security. I think a clear sense of mind in terms of performing on the park. But if you do have to move, you just got to probably suck it up and try and make it work somewhere else. How do you think players will take this whole contracting system and how that will work?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's a bit unfair to say to players, you've got to choose between Boland and Western Province. I think they should just open it up for everyone and say, here's a clean slate, from a contracting point of view. Players can decide, okay, cool, you know what, I either want to play in Western Province or I want to play in Boland. But I think, because you on your second year of having a franchise contract, I mean, now that, you've announced a new system, I feel it's a bit unfair, because you might have a guy like Yannaman, and I'll just mention the name here, who is from Northwest, and Northwest has now been awarded a contract. So, what prevents him from going back to where he comes from? So I think in that regard, I reckon it's probably a bit unfair, because, yes, I mean, you might have signed a 2-year deal with the Cobras, but that was because of franchise cricket, and that was because, your province, your home province obviously wasn't available. But from a player's perspective, it's one of two. It's either a very nervous time or it's a very exciting time, because you know where you want to be, you know where your heart lies. And for a lot of players, they'll probably won't get picked up in their own province, which means they will have to ship across to another province. But, with the new two franchises being awarded, it opens up more opportunity. So, like I said, yes, there will be nerves, there will be excitement, but I think it's exciting for South African cricket. But the thing that I said earlier that excites me most is that all of these provincial teams, they will have to build a structure which will then have to become the biggest feeder system into their teams. And I think that's something that we've probably neglected over the last, we can even go as far as back as 10 years, because, the franchise system just made it so much easier for us to go and sign a player from somewhere else. But the emphasis will really be put now on development. And I think that is something that I'm really passionate about and really looking forward to see what the talent is that's going to come through each and every single province. But it's exciting times for South African cricket, and I'm all for it. And like I said, it also it requires us as older statesmen to give back into the game, to make sure that we motivate, we mentor the younger guys. And like Brookie said, in the Western Cape, they probably have to start from scratch in terms of building a squad. And we've seen it over the last probably 2 or 3 years, the amount of changes that's been taking place. So for me, I'd like to see a lot more settled in terms of the signings, in terms of nurturing young talent that's coming through the system, and making sure that, in a probably 2-3 year time frame, that you'll have a squad that can really, contest for trophies and not just to do well. So it's interesting times in South African cricket, but like I said, I think they've made the right move and really to reinstall the passion, the pride, from where people are from. Cape Town, like we know, is a big historical cricket city. Likewise with a lot of other cities. So it'll be really good to see, people coming out again and support their own. Because when we amalgamated into franchise cricket, people felt that they've got to support Boland being a part of this or SVD being a part of this, but now they can really go out and support their own. And I'm really excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time, and I don't take it for granted. And thank you for your time. It's going to be interesting times for South African cricket, but I guess we'll dissect future topics with time to come. But thank you once again.
Thanks, Fizz. Look forward to you broadcast. Look forward to your broadcasting over the next few years.
All good, boys. Yeah, I really appreciate Vernon Philander's time, as well as David Brook. Fascinating how things are setting up in South African cricket, how things will work going forward. I mean, Vernon made some fantastic points there with regards to affiliations, rivalries. Brookie really gave us some good insights with regards to the contracting system and the names, especially because there'll be plenty of chatter with regards to that. Will it be the Cobras? Will it be the Blitz? Will it be Western Province? Will it be KwaZulu-Natal? Will it be the Dolphins? Will it be the Lions? Will it be Gauteng? All around the country, the debate will rage on, no doubt. In closing, I just want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in. Really appreciate it once again. It's an exciting time. We've got some new developments that will be coming on the show, hopefully. Let me not say too much. Let me keep my mouth shut. And just want to sign out in style. Don't forget, keep supporting the show. Subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook. You can check out our shows on Facebook Watch. That's one of our biggest mediums with regards to, obviously, from a visual perspective. You can follow the show, the FisMaz show, at Iona FM. You can also follow the show on Instagram. You can follow the show on Apple Podcasts. And keen to spend more time just engaging with everyone. Just got to sign out. It's your captain speaking. It's FisMaz. Thank you very much for tuning into another episode of the FisMaz show. Goodbye. Love you all.